All right, here we go. We are going to pick up here on the front side. We kind of started already. We have the Arabian Sea here. We have the Bay of Bengal over here. We are going to color right in South China Sea. We have the Yellow Sea. We have the Sea of Japan. And right down here we have the East China Sea. We're going to label some rivers. We have the Indus River way over here. We have the Ganges River. The Ganges River. Right here in between these two rivers we have the Himalayas. What are the Himalayas? Mountains, the tallest mountain range in the world. I would say that's definitely worth knowing. Yellow River is here, also known as the Huanghe. Oh, there's our lapel. Perfect. We're back on a pattern. Huanghe is here. Then you have the Yangtze. Now, I do not pronounce these correctly. I am so sorry. I am not trying to offend anyone with my terrible pronunciations. If you know the correct way to say it, please tell me, in a kind way, of course. But if you, that's how we'll go. Okay, so there are your major landmarks. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do now is we are going to draw 5 boxes in the corners so we can start our identification. All right, so the first one we will write in Aryans. Then we'll do hairpins. Hairpin Society. Then we have the Xia, the Shang, and the Zhao. All right. So when we are looking at Yellow River in early India, we are going to start with the Aryans. Now, the Aryans are going to be known for 2 major things. Does anyone know what the Aryans are known for? No one has any idea? Awesome. No one did their reading? Well, we didn't get there. All right. So the Aryans, in mine, they're going to be blue. You can color them whatever you want. The Aryans are known for their warlike government and political structure. They're all based on war. They're very good at conquering territory. They're also known for their Vedas. What are Vedas? What do you got? Cameron?
Those like the hymns that they had?
Yeah, they're stories used to justify their behavior and their belief system. Okay? Now, the Aryans are going to be located in northern India, and they believe the Indus and the Ganges rivers are sacred rivers, and that this allows them to be powerful and to continue to dominate territory. Now, remember, these are going to be the first civilizations in the world, just like we talked about on the front. If this area is colored in, does that mean people don't live here? No, there's just no government structure and there's no organized society. So because of that, we don't address it. So we're just covering where societies are, that we know the laws and all that stuff, and then we know there's some sort of government system. The Aryans are going to be your first. They're warriors, and they create the Vedas. Now, they don't have an organized religion. They do not. They're polytheistic, but we don't really know much about their religion, but we know they write the Vedas. It is not until the next civilization that comes in and takes over after the Aryans, and these are the Harapins. Now, the Harapins are going to come in and take over. Now, the Harapins are going to be located right here, and they are going to take the Vedas and turn it into what? It's the oldest religion in the world. What area in the world am I? India. So what religion do you think it is? Hinduism. Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world. It is a polytheistic religion, and it is the oldest. It is about 200 years older than what other important religion? Second oldest religion is what? Judaism, and that is going to be monotheistic or polytheistic? Monotheistic, as we justified all the diaspora. Well, we didn't justify it. We said there was diaspora because of their monotheistic beliefs. Now, this is the Harapins. The Harapins are going to take over after the Aryans. The Aryans come first. The Harapins come second. They take their Vedas, their stories, their cultural stories, and use it as the foundation of their religion. Now, what is one of the major foundations of Hinduism that makes it super, super unique in comparison to other religions? It has a what? It's It's probably one of its more jarring beliefs for us Americans in the West. Oh my God. Do we not know anything about it, Will?
It's the caste system.
Caste system. And what is a caste system, Will?
It's a series of like wealthy to middle class to rich.
There you go. It's a social class system. Absolutely. It dictates your roles, your responsibilities based on your status in that life. Now, that caste system is based directly on the beliefs of the Aryans. Okay? The Aryans lay the foundation, the Harappan take it, and Hinduism is going to exist very strongly, very definitely in this region still to this day. So big, big, big deal. Harappans are going to take it and create Hinduism. So that is the Harappans. Those are the Aryans. So Aryans come first, Harappans come second. Now, we're going to focus on East Asia for China. Now, the first one, oh, this is an A, by the way. Zia. I don't know what happened there. So our first one is going to be Zia. Now, Zia are going to be the first government in this area. So do you think their territory is going to be large or very small? Small. Who can raise their hand and tell me why is their territory going to be small if they're the first government or first area of centralized power in the region? Why? Well, first of all, do people like new things? No, absolutely not. So do you think people are going to be like, oh my God, come take me over and tell me what to do? No, absolutely not. So the Z are going to have a very small range of power. They're going to be along the Yangtze River, and they are going to take over power. They're the first to establish power. Now, they are going to be the founders of dynastic rule. What is dynastic rule? Dynastic rule create what type of government system? Charlotte? Dynasties, absolutely. China will be ruled by dynasties until 1919. Until 1919. So is this an effective way of ruling if we're in about 2000 BCE? Yeah, it is. They are going to be the ones to lay that foundation. They are going to start it. Are they going to be incredibly successful in staying a long time or probably a short amount of time? Probably pretty short, because do people really like being controlled? No, especially for the first time, never had any idea of government, they're not going to be well liked. Okay, so then we're going to have the Shang. Now the Shang are going to come around. They are going to be the second dynasty to come take over. Are people going to be more friendly to the idea of government or less friendly? More friendly, because you've been pre-exposed to this idea of government. They're going to be more likely. So they're going to have more territory or less territory? More territory. So the Zia have this much, and the Shang are going to have about that much. So as you can tell, they're making a huge difference. Now the Shang are known for their military control. They are one of the first military leading nations. They don't really care about controlling people in their borders. They want to expand their borders because the more territory you control, the more power you have, and that was kind of their mantra. Now, the Shang are the first military power. Their military structure is going to be used as the foundation of everything else. Do you know what civilization lays the foundation for our military today? No, actually. They're going to steal it from the Greeks, though. Who is the inspiration behind our military? What reason why we call people the way we call people? The ranks, the levels, the Romans. Have you ever seen, oh my God, it's with Russell Crowe, Gladiator. Have you ever seen Gladiator? They use term like captain, general, all that stuff. Okay, we take our military rankings from the Romans. Okay, in Asia today, if you go and you know all the tiering of the Chinese military, they use the Shang as their foundation. It's important you know where the foundations come from so we can continue to elaborate. Okay, so here are Shang for me. They're yellow. Make sure you color in your key because I'm doing a terrible job doing that. Okay, and our next, so the Zhao. Do you think they're going to be bigger or smaller than the Shang? Bigger. Why are they going to be bigger? There you go. They're going to be the biggest ones because people are going to be more familiar with the idea of government, and they're going to be very successful. Now, what is the biggest contribution that the Zhao bring to China that is going to change the foundation of everything else? Oh my goodness. What do they create in the Zhao that will forever instate dynastic rule? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. What do the Zhao create that secures dynastic rule? It justifies it. Did we not do our reading? If you're not going to do your reading, this is not the class for you. If you are not going to do your homework, this is not the class for you. What do you got, Grace?
Do they create a monarch?
No. We're always going to stay dynastic, which means you have an emperor. But I appreciate you trying. What do you got, Rena? It's a piece of paper, essentially. Huh? No, Buddhism is going to develop during period 2. That's our age of religions. What do you got, Sylvia? Mandate of heaven. Thank you, Sylvia. What is the mandate of heaven? What is the mandate of heaven? Oh, my goodness. Thank God Sylvia is here. I'm so glad you came, Sylvia. What is the mandate of heaven? Cameron?
Is that how they chose who was going to be the leader?
Yes, it is essentially yes. Okay, so this is what the mandate of heaven is. Okay, so the mandate of heaven, I'm going to write, if you want to write this somewhere, you are more than welcome to. I'd make sure you know it. Mandate of heaven. It says, the gods select you to rule. Okay, so then you are now the ruling emperor. Okay? Gods favor you, so you thrive. Okay? We start having rebellions and challenges to authority. Gods lose favor. Okay? Gods abandon. Empire. Okay? And empire and dynasty falls. And then God select and you rule. So what is this justifying? What is this justifying? So God selects you to rule. So all of a sudden Grace is our queen. Okay? She is now in charge. She begins ruling the empire. She's the ruling emperor. She tells us what to do. God favors us, so are times good or bad? Good. All of a sudden, we start having rebellions and challenges to authority. God starts to lose favor. Can we agree? If things aren't going smoothly, are the gods on your side? No. Eventually, will you eventually lose favor? God's abandoned empire and dynasty falls, and guess what happens again? God selects someone else. So what is this justifying? What do you got, John?
The dynasty just keeps continuing forever.
It kind of, there's rise and falls to different dynasties, but the system keeps going. It is the understanding that if a government falls, what is going to replace it? Another one. If that one falls, what happens? Another one will rise. So do the gods ever forget you? No. They have chosen someone else to lead. Is that a pretty powerful thing? Yes, absolutely. And that's why they're going to be able to have this system for about 3,000 years. Okay? It allows it to continue to thrive. This is the mandate system. Now, the mandate system is going to justify rule for about 3,000 years. The Zhao are also going to have better flood controls. Why is the having better flood controls going to allow them to take over more area? Who can raise their hand? Ripkey.
They can build more infrastructure.
Okay. To a degree, absolutely. So we have a little bit more infrastructure than we did in the Xia and the Shang, absolutely. But what about them having better flood control allows them to take over this much land and have this much control in the area? What do you got, Thompson?
If they have better flood control, they can go to land that they otherwise wouldn't be able to because they would just wipe out their area.
Okay, and what are people going to be impressed or upset with this idea of flood control? Impressed. If people are impressed, are they more likely to allow them to be controlled?
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why the Zhao have such a large territory. They're very strong government control. The idea that gods have selected me to rule is a powerful idea. Can we agree? That will eventually become the foundation of all European rule. It starts in East Asia. The idea of having flood controls makes the government look efficient and effective, which is going to allow their borders to expand to a much broader base. Okay? So, it is important to know the Yellow River in early India. Okay? This Yellow River has unpredictable flooding. Unpredictable flooding. So, a lot of infrastructure or not a lot of infrastructure? Not a lot. So, little infrastructure. Okay? What we're going to see is that what's going to happen, they're going to be building wooden houses and all that stuff. When a flood comes, do those wooden houses stay or go? They go. Look at Louisiana right now. That's underwater right now as well. So, early India, the Indus and the Ganges rivers also going to flood. Is it a predictable or unpredictable? It's a moderately predictable. It's moderately predictable. So we do have some temples and stuff. It's moderately predictable. Some infrastructure. I'm so sorry. Infrastructure. Okay, so there is some. There is none in early and Yellow River. There is none. Although the Zhao are starting to really put it in place, by the time they really control, it falls into warring states. The government completely collapsed because of too many rebellions by the time they really figure out the flooding thing. And then it falls into chaos. If the government falls into chaos, does that mean we're building better flood controls? No. When we come back into it, they will. Okay, flipping it back over to the other side. Mesopotamia, good flood control or poor flooding control? Predictable or unpredictable? What is it? Unpredictable. Completely unpredictable. Unpredictable. So a lot of infrastructure and very little. Very little. Okay, and what is the only thing they have? You already used the term today. It starts with a Z. Ziggurats is the only thing they have. Phoenicians, they don't really live on a river, so they have no flooding issues. The problem is they're sailors, so they're not really building anything. They're sailors, so they don't really care about having a massive temple. And then the Hebrews are kind of the same thing. The only people who have the most predictable are who? The Egyptians. Do they have a lot of infrastructure or no infrastructure? A lot of infrastructure. And that is your map. I will give you 1 minute to finish your coloring in, and that means you have completed your map for the week, and all you have to do is hold on to it until we turn it in on what day? What day do you turn in your map? Wednesday. So all you have to do is hold on to it, and you've already gotten your 10 points. So finish coloring in your landmass and your water, and then you're good to go. You have about 1 minute.
Is our map quiz on Wednesday?
You don't have a map quiz. You only have a map quiz on the regions because that's the foundation of everything else. Okay. Having knowledge of the map and then really listening to what I went over will help you on your test. Kind of put things into where they kind of belong and stuff like that. So it will help that way. We have about 30 seconds, and then we're going to start with notes. So as soon as you're done putting that away, finish coloring, put your color pencils and crayons away in their box. You don't need to bring it to the front of the room unless you're like super done and you're just like, yeah, I'm ready to do that. Take out a piece of notebook paper, whatever you need. If you have not started working, you've got about 10 seconds, by the way. If you have not started working on your spice themes, you are already incredibly far behind. Hopefully, if you weren't working on your spice, you at least worked on your focus. Because if you worked on your spice, I would start working on your focus tonight. Your focus is due on Thursday. Your focus is due on Thursday. Your spice is due on Friday. I would work on the back of your spice on Thursday night. All right, put it away. Let's go. If you didn't finish, it is your responsibility to finish coloring in. I've already posted the pictures to plant lectures. So if you have not finished, everything's there. You don't need labeling. All you're doing is coloring on the land and water. Okay, here we go. So civilizations. Now, the biggest thing about this week is that these are the first major civilizations. Last week we were talking about Neolithic, Paleolithic. Paleolithic, we were looking at how people lived before civilizations. Neolithic is the beginning of what? Who can raise their hand and tell me? Neolithic is the beginning of what? Charlotte? Agricultural revolution. We're going to have a second one here coming up in about the 1700s, but it's the first major one. So all of a sudden, we have enough food to supply a large amount of people. So all of a sudden, people are now going to be living an urban lifestyle. What is an urban lifestyle? What do you got? Well,
Living in cities and with people.
absolutely. And what are they not doing if you're living in a city?
Farming.
You're not farming. There's a food surplus enough. So what else are we having? We're living in urban cities. We have militaries for the first time. We have social stratification. Who can tell me what social stratification? Courtney, what is social stratification? That'd be gender stratification. So we have a separation of gender. Social. What do you think?
Like kings and nobles?
Kings, nobles, it's your social classes, absolutely. You have your top people in power and you have your low people. Now when we transition, in our Paleolithic times, who was at the top for men? Strong. Did we have women of the same value? Yes, absolutely. We had ones who could give birth and highly respected and all that stuff. In our new societies, do we have that? No. Who is going to be at the top of our new urban life? Men, oh yeah, absolutely. Men are going to be in charge. But who is at the very top of control? Stephen?
Well,
A little bit higher than the wealthy people. We have to have what in place? Stephen? No, you're getting there. You're going right up the tiers. Who is at the very top? Dom? Government leader, whoever it is. Typically it's an emperor, okay? Typically it's a king or an emperor is going to be at the top. Then you have the wealthiest people. Okay, your military leaders, your wealthiest people. Then you have who comes next? Well,
your bishops and like religious believers.
Sort of. So we have our leaders. We have the highly placed political authorities. Okay, and the wealthiest people. Next is going to come your merchants. Okay, people who are making decent amounts of money. Then you have your farmers, and then you have your poor. Okay, so that's your normal stratification. Social stratification is the social classes in order. At the end of the day, it's always going to fall back to that until we start really adding a lot more. Only a couple times will we change that. So when we talk about it, you always have a king on top. Okay, then you have your king/emperor. Then you have your government officials. So in feudalism is where you have nobles and all that stuff. It's not common. We don't use the word nobles until we hit feudalism, and that's not going to be until about the 1300s. Okay? So we use government officials, then you government officials / wealthy and wealthy. Then you have your craftsmen, your merchants, craftsmen / merchants. And then you have your farmers. And then you have your poor. This is your normal stratification. When in doubt, it's always this. We change names. Government officials will eventually turn into nobles as we progress through time. But right now, this is your normal stratification. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
So are you born into it?
Kind of to a degree. It's not it's not like the caste system. You're not born into a straight one. If you become a craftsman and you do something like you make the best damn tables out of anyone, Grace, you can move up to being the wealthiest. But it's just like here in America, you don't jump that high, and very few people jump. Okay? Like, who's the Apple guy? Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was an immigrant. He's the son of an immigrant. Okay? He came from Syria, actually. I think he's a Syrian refugee, isn't he? Oh, he was. He's dead now, obviously. Anyway, he came here with his parents. He was low middle class, and eventually he became a billionaire. Okay? But how many people would make that jump? Not many. Maybe a handful. Okay? So, can you move up the tiers? Absolutely. Could you do better than your parents? Absolutely. But are you going to jump major classes? Not typically. But it doesn't mean you're stuck either. It just depends on your skills and your utility. Economic specialization is going to be your craftsmen, your merchants, and stuff like that. Religion is going to be shaped by every different civilization we study. These are the foundations of every single civilization we'll be studying for the rest of the year. This is it. Communications. We need to know how people are working together, how they are tying things together, and high culture. We are always going to focus on the big pieces of arts, the big cultural identities, the first pieces of literature, the first different types of things, so it makes it a little more interesting. All right. Hierarchies, I covered it super quick. Gender, guess what? It's patriarchal society. What does a patriarchal society mean, Riley? It's even worse than that. It'd be one thing if your dad was in control of your house. But what is, when we talk about society as a whole, what are we saying? Men control everything. It'd be one thing if your dad just controlled your house with an iron fist, right? But as men control the whole society. Men control everything. Women are in the lower tiers. Okay? So if you are married to a government official, ladies, are you of high power?
Yes.
No. No, you're not. You have zero power. Do you have the same amount of power as a poor person? Yeah. You have no power. You have no power. Does your husband have more power? Are you seen with a little bit more respect? Yeah, but no one thinks you're worth anything except to make babies. So it doesn't matter where you fall, ladies. You're not seen of value. Your husband's of value, but you are not. Okay? So that's how it's going to be for a very, very long time. All right, so patriarchy in practice. The biggest things we're going to see. Now, why are men going to become the most dominant people in society? What is the big change that allows men from being equal to women to men dominating? What is the actual change that shifts everything? What is the actual change? Charlotte?
The population increases.
A population is going to increase because of what? Courtney?
The military?
No, military. There's always been a need for military for protection. What physically is going on that is going to change men from being equals of women to we need men more, which means women are of less value? Abby?
Building?
No, think. Paleolithic to Neolithic. What is the change? Sylvia? Agriculture. So what do we need men to do, Sylvia? Plow the field. Have you ever plowed? No, you've never plowed a field. Have you ever seen a movie where someone's plowing a field by hand? Is it easy or hard? It is really hard. And typically you've probably seen a horse plow a field. Yeah, they have the little thing and it goes through and they're like constantly like trying to do it. They used to have to do it by hand. Backbreaking work. Plow a field. Okay? Till the soil. Okay? Is that what most women can do? No, absolutely not. It takes men. It takes muscles. So if you can plow a field, you get to plant the field. If you can plant the field, you now reap the crops. If you reap the crops, you get the surplus. If you have the surplus, you get the money. Men come into power because of plowing fields, straight up. Because you have larger muscles than we do, you rise into power. We need men to feed us more than women need to birth. Because there's so much food, because men are plowing fields, women are of less value. That is the transition. Harsh, right? Harsh, but that's a fact. All right, so warfare, patriarchy. Okay, when we talk about patriarchy in practice, Mesopotamia means we have codes that are going to solidify men are in power, women are not. Thompson, you need your head up, man. You're George. I'm sorry. You're Thompson. You're George. But his name's George Thompson, and that throws me off. I'm so sorry, Thompson. George. Okay? However, we do have a little bit of remnants of our Paleolithic society. A lot of the gods and goddesses are going to be worshipped. So we have a little bit of lingering. Think of your modern gods. Who is going to come around after our original gods of Judaism and Hinduism? What other religions develop after it? Buddhism. What other religions? Islam. What other ones? Christianity. Buddhism is led by male or female? Male. Christianity led by male or female? Male. Okay, we actually have a ton of other ones. Taoism, all these other things believe in the strength of men. Okay, so our Paleolithic, we have a little bit of polytheistic, which is going to see a little bit of the Greeks and the Romans. It's going to die off in period 1. Once we get into period 2, it's all male-dominated. That's going to be the culture. That's going to be the society. Okay? All right, coercion and consent, we're good. Writing and accounting, we're good. All right, Mesopotamia. So, here we go. This is what Mesopotamia looked like. Okay, it's Fertile Crescent. Okay, modern city. It's modern-day Iraq. It's land between the two rivers. The Sumerians. See ya.